Hello dears! So today our topic guys, our last topic for Clinical Chemistry 1 is all about bilirubin. Ayan. So class, actually sa lahat ng topic natin sa Clinical Chemistry 1, ang pinaka-naiiba ay bilirubin kasi mag-isa niya lang. Wala siyang partner na liver function test because so far we learned about kidney function tests. So your kidney function tests are your non-protein nitrogen analytes. So yung BUN, CREA, uric acid, guys, itong mga ito is usually for kidney function. However, one of your NPNs, which is ammonia, is also for liver function. And sorry, nagkagulo na. However, ito last but not the least, analyte for clinical chemistry 1 is bilirubin. And most of your liver function tests are actually liver enzymes. Yan. So if you want to assess the health of your liver, we have your bilirubin. We test for bilirubin, but we also test mostly for liver enzymes. At kung mag-aaral sa clinical chemistry 2 class, which is entitled enzymology, so the topic are all about enzymes. Ang unang pag-aaralan doon are liver enzymes. At ito yung mga alanine transferase, yan, alkaline phosphatase, glutamyl transferase, yan, GGT. So class, ito sa CC2 na to. Yan. So we will touch on liver function test with your bilirubin and ammonia. So class, meron ring mga serological markers to assess the health of your liver, especially if someone has hepatitis. Some of your hepatitis are caused by virus, hepatitis B testing, yan, and hepatitis C testing. Yan, marami mga hepatitis. So class, napakahalagang organ ang liver. So it's the largest internal organ. And class, liver synthesizes proteins, ammonia, carbohydrates, fat, ketones, and vitamin A. So class, if you remember class, decrease in proteins could be pointed out to severe liver disease. So, ayun na. Pero talagang one of the most important analytes for assessing the health of your liver is your bilirubin. What is bilirubin? Yan. So, pag-aralan natin ang biochemistry ng bilirubin. And however, start muna tayo sa gumagawa ng bilirubin. Yan. So, class, your liver has 4 functions, excretion and secretion. So, dito pumapasok excuse me, ang bilirubin. So heme is excreted by the liver through bilirubin. Let's talk about heme. Your liver is also an important organ for synthesizing your carbohydrates, inaayos na yung mga vitamins natin, proteins, most of your proteins are synthesized in the liver. Maraming function ng liver kaya napakahalaga. For detoxification, yan. So, it removes toxins, it treats toxins, and so class, alanganin yung mga supplements na it's for detoxification, ganyan. Because honestly, you don't need detoxifying supplements, something like that, because you already have the liver. And class, drinking supplements or drugs that are unnecessary puts unnecessary work to your liver. Class, lahat ng dumaan na gamot sa katawan ay dumadaan sa liver. And actually, your liver is hurting every time you're drinking medications that are not really necessary. So you have to, class, be really watchful about drinking supplements. Yan. So, ayun. So, class, kunyari may mga nakiklaim na it's for detoxification, ganyan, kung anumang gamot or something, class. Example pa, yung mga intravenous na mga supplements. Naku, class, that's very harmful to your liver. Glutathione, drinking glutathione, class, that's very harmful to your liver. Yan, talagang nasa-stress, class, ang liver pag uminom tayo ng iba't ibang uring gamot. Sometimes, syempre, pag uminom ng gamot, it's a need. Yan. But yun yung reality na pag may gamot, may alak na iniinom, the liver is functioning, and it's detoxifying. Yung parang may extra workload siyang gagawin pag uminom ng alak, ng mga gamot, ng mga supplements that are not really necessary. Yan. Alam niyo ba, class, that so your liver enzymes are released in the body when there is destruction of hepatocytes, your liver cells. So I told you that one of the reliable tests for analyzing analyzing the health of your liver are your enzymes. So class, pag may nag-breakdown, pag may nasira na hepatocyte, nag-release siya ng enzyme. At alam niyo ba na talagang tumataas agad ang liver enzyme, class, pag umiinom ng alak. Yan. So class, drink moderately. Kung better, do not drink so that your liver will not be stressed. And that's true. Yan. The liver is the only organ that has the capacity to rid the body of heme waste products. Yan. So for this discussion, yan, so bilirubin assesses the secretion function of your liver. Yan. Nung proteins nung topic natin ng proteins, the proteins assess the synthesis function of your liver. So ibig sabihin, kung mababa ang protein, it could point out that there's something wrong with the liver. Pero ngayon, since bilirubin, it's all about excretion and secretion of the liver. So class, the liver is the only organ that disposes your heme as a waste product. So kung hindi lang kidney, class, ang nagtatapon ng isang bagay, pati liver. Yan. So class, so your red blood cell has a lifespan of only 120 days. Yan. Actually, ito na yung pinamahabang lifespan. Yung platelets nyo, 5 days lang lifespan. Your WBCs, when it's used, it's about 1 to 2 days ang lifespan lang ng mga WBCs. But class, your red blood cell has a lifespan of 120 days. Mahaba rin. And class, what's amazing about your red blood cells, may tatlong component siya. May iron, may globin, at may heme. Your iron is carried by your transferrin for reuse. Yan, yung transporter ng iron is transferrin. So, it transfers iron for reuse. So, pag nag-breakdown ng RBC class, ang mare-reuse ang iron at globin, which are your amino acids. Ang galing, no? Amazing. Mare-recycle yan. For sure. Pag nag-breakdown ng red blood cell, mare-recycle pang iron at globin. However, guys, the heme portion of your hemoglobin, yan, hindi ito nare-recycle. It's an instant waste product. Yan. So, the goal is to discard heme. So kung ang maraming nag-breakdown na red blood cells, so maraming heme na pakalat-kalat sa circulation. Yan. Yan. So, maraming heme na pakalat-kalat sa circulation. So, what happens, guys, is eventually it will be converted to unconjugated bilirubin. Yan. Unconjugated bilirubin. This is now your bilirubin 1. This is the first form of your bilirubin, unconjugated bilirubin. So, class, your unconjugated bilirubin, one of its characteristics is it's not water soluble. Hindi siya water soluble. So class, for something to be discarded in the kidney, it should be water soluble so that it would be dissolved in the urine. So class, ang goal ng liver dito is to convert this unconjugated bilirubin, which is non-water soluble, to a water soluble product so that it could be discarded in your urine. Yan. So from a non-water soluble, ang goal is to convert your unconjugated bilirubin to conjugated bilirubin. Kasi only the conjugated bilirubin could be discarded in your urine. Okay? So class, this unconjugated bilirubin is transported by albumin. Yan. Since hindi siya water soluble, it cannot be dissolved in your blood. So, kailangan niya ng carrier, which is your albumin. So, class, your unconjugated bilirubin is always attached or complex with your albumin. And class, now, it will, this albumin now will take your unconjugated bilirubin to the liver. In your liver class, we have UDP glucuroneal transferase. Yan. Assignment nyo, anong ibig sabihin ng UDP? So class, in the liver, we have this UDP glucuroneal transferase. This is an enzyme. Pag may ACE, ganun. Lipases, carbohydrates, yan, merong dehydrates, may ACE class. These are enzymes. So guys, through the action of this enzyme class, now your bilirubin is conjugated. Yan. So this is B2. Yan, bilirubin, B2. So unconjugated bilirubin are B1. Yan. Actually, mas maraming unconjugated bilirubin kesa conjugated bilirubin. So now this conjugated bilirubin is now produced in the liver, and guys, it's water soluble, hindi na kailangan ng transporter. And now this conjugated bilirubin, this B2, yan, will be dissolved in your bile and could go into your intestine. Yan. Once it's in the intestine class, the gut bacteria, yung mga good bacteria natin yun, doon, are your gastrointestinal tract bacteria or yung mga normal flora ng intestine class, will convert your conjugated bilirubin to urobilinogen. Yan. So actually, urobilinogen is a colorless product. But through oxidation, guys, nagkukulay siya. So, pag na-oxidize na siya, magiging urobilin na siya, which is now the one that gives your urine a yellow color. And it can now be discarded in your kidneys through urine. Kasi pag urobilin na siya, doon na siya madi-discard in the urine. At pwede rin siyang mag-oxidize from stercobilinogen to stercobilin. Now, this stercobilin gives your feces the characteristic brown color. Yan. So, this happens in both colon and kidneys. So, urobilin, syempre, nangyayari sa kidneys, stercobilin, nangyayari sa colon. Yan. So, class, from your heme, ang goal is maging pigment na lang siya. Yan. Actually, your bilirubin is the major pigment of your bile as well. Yan. So, pigment siya ng bile. Yan, through the action of your gut bacteria, naging urobilinogen siya. Actually, naging colorless siya pag urobilinogen. It will be oxidized, yan, into yellow or brown color. So, kung yellow color siya, yun, it's in the form of urobilin in urine, or it could be in the pigment, which is stercobilin, which gives your feces a characteristic brown color. So, class, if your stool, class, is color gray or ashy or pasty, ganyan, it could be a sign that there's not enough bilirubin that's forming in the liver. Ayan, pag pasty or ashy or gray, pag hindi brown ng tae mo, class, this could be telltale signs for a disease or an abnormality or a disorder. So, yan ang life's, how your liver processes your heme. So, it started with heme, circulation, and it becomes unconjugated bilirubin. So, this is not water soluble yet, so it needs to be carried by your albumin. Now, your albumin will carry it to the liver. And your liver has this uridyl diphosphate glucuroneal transferase, guys, which will conjugate your bilirubin. Yan. Sobrang sinimplihan ko lang. And now this conjugated bilirubin is now a pigment of your bile. And your bile goes to your intestine, and it's to the process of your gut bacteria, it will convert it to urobilinogen. Yan. And through oxidation, your urobilinogen could be urobilin and stercobilin. So, yung stercobilinogen, na-process pa siya into stercobilin. Now, yan, these are just waste products. Yan. So, some of now your bilirubin turned into urobilin. Yan, na ano na siya, natapon na siya in the urine, natapon na siya into your stool. Okay, so yeah, class. So your bilirubin was derived from the breakdown of red blood cells, specifically the hemoglobin in your red blood cells, yan. It's a major pigment in bile. So your bile, ano bang color ng bile? Kasi may pagka-greenish, diba? Dark green. Yan. And it's due to bilirubin. So your body makes 200 to 300 milligrams of bilirubin per day. Yan. Yan. So it takes a normally functioning liver to excrete, eliminate bilirubin from the body. So kung tumataas yung bilirubin sa katawan, class, ibig sabihin, nag-accumulate ang bilirubin sa katawan, ibig sabihin, there's something wrong with your liver. In class, when there's excess bilirubin in your circulation, you could be, the term is, mag-yellow ka, which is jaundice or icteric. Yan, or icterus. Jaundice. Yan. So, J-A-U-N, Jaun, is a French word which means yellow. So, yun, pag excess ang bilirubin and the liver could not eliminate bilirubin, so your bilirubin pigments tend to accumulate under the sclera, yung puti ng mata, sa skin, sa nails, yan, kaya naninilaw. So people, class, who have liver cirrhosis, who have severe liver diseases, pwede silang mag-yellow, class, because your body could not eliminate the bilirubin well. And it comes in two forms, the water-insoluble state, which is conjugated or unconjugated bilirubin, to water-soluble state. So if you're going to differentiate your B1 and B2, yan. So unconjugated bilirubin or indirect. Itong class na word na indirect bilirubin naman, it's indirect. Pangalan niya indirect bilirubin because of the methodology. Yan naman. Conjugated or direct. So water insoluble yung unconjugated, water soluble yung conjugated or B2. Non-polar siya. Polar kasi nga water soluble ang conjugated. The other name of unconjugated is hemobilirubin. Yan. So, perhaps because it's directly from heme. Yan. At cholebilirubin naman sa conjugated. Yan. It's found in the plasma and bound with albumin. Yan. Here, for conjugated, it's found in the plasma. It's unbound. Yan. Actually, it's found in your bile. Diba pwede? And ito, kaya indirect bilirubin and unconjugated because sa methods natin later, it reacts with diazothiosulfonalic acid with an accelerator. Indirect. So it only, sa methods natin, guys, ma-measure natin siya indirectly. Kaya indirect bilirubin siya. Because you need an accelerator for the bilirubin to happen or the product to be produced, kailangan mo ng accelerator. Dito sa unconjugated, direct siya because there's no more accelerator needed. Diretso na, conjugated plus diazothiosulfonalic acid equals product. Tapos, kaya direct bilirubin ang conjugated. Pero here, class, kailangan ng accelerator. That's why we call it indirect. Yan, meron pa dito. So, class, mga unconjugated. So, high molecular weight. Masyado ring malaki. Not only, kaya hindi siya napifilter sa kidney, not only because it's insoluble in water, it's high molecular weight because it's attached to albumin. Ang albumin naman, hindi basta-bastang napifilter sa kidney. It's non-polar. Yan. Class yun, insoluble in plasma and can cross the brain barrier in neonates, causing brain damage, class. So, class, minsan may mga neonates or newborn babies na kapag kapanganak is napakadilaw nila. Napaka-yellow ng mga babies na to. Yan. So, class, kaya itong mga babies, kaya siguro naging tradition na rin na pinapaaraw sila. Newborns, pinapaaraw sila because some newborns, guys, are yellow. And class, para mga itong bilirubin na rin na to kasi it's very light sensitive. It's very light sensitive. It's photosensitive. That's why, kung pinaarawan mo ang bilirubin, nawawala. Yan. Wait lang. I'm searching for a term. Ito na to. So class, we have this term kernicterus, Kernicterus. Sabi niya, this is a very rare type of brain damage that occurs in newborn with severe jaundice because class, some of your unconjugated bilirubin can pass through the brain barrier, yan, blood-brain barrier that can cause brain damage, which is called kernicterus. Yan, sabi niya. So, bilirubin, so if there is increased buildup of bilirubin and it passes to the brain, it could permanently damage the brain of the newborn baby. Ayun. Kasi infants develop abnormally high levels of bilirubin. Yan. Persistent yellowing of the skin, mucous membrane, and sclera of the eye or whites of the eye. Grabe ang kernicterus. Yun. So, yung pinapaaraw, ang baby, gano'n. We monitor their bilirubin levels. Yan. It gives an indirect reaction to Vandenberg reaction or your disulfonilic acid. So, kailangan ng accelerator. Kaya indirect bilirubin ang tawag sa unconjugated at direct bilirubin ang conjugated. Yeah. So, it's conjugated to glucuronic acid. It's attached to an acid, glucuronic acid. Yeah. It has smaller molecular weight and does not yun. So, kaya ingatan kung mataas ang unconjugated bilirubin. So, how do we determine your bilirubin levels? So, yun, one of the classic method. So, kung sa creatinine test, sa creatinine class, one of the classic methods of determining it is your JAF reaction. Dito naman, Vandenberg reaction. Yan. So, Vandenberg reaction directly measures your conjugated bilirubin. So, conjugated bilirubin plus diazotide sulfonilic acid will produce a purple-colored azobilirubin. Yan. So, ganun lang, bilirubin. Parang, and you could measure the levels of bilirubin is proportional to the purple-colored azobilirubin. Yan. So, class, yun nga, direct method ang conjugated. So, conjugated plus diazo. Anong content? Sulfonilic acid, hydrochloric, and sodium nitrate. So, will form purple color azobilirubin. So, class, here we have Vandenberg reaction or your indirect method. So, indirect kasi kailangan ng accelerator. And an example accelerator, guys, is ethanol. Yan. So, unconjugated bilirubin plus ethanol will produce your free bilirubin. Yan. So, class, you need to remove or precipitate the albumin. Isn't it your unconjugated bilirubin is attached to your albumin. So, kailangan tanggalin yung albumin. So, it's through the use of an accelerator, specifically ethanol. So, now, once your free bilirubin is free talaga, now you could now add your diazoreagent or diazothiosulfonilic acid or sulfonilic acid plus hydrochloric acid and sodium nitrate will produce a purple color. So, nag-gets niyo ba, class? So, unconjugated bilirubin, indirect method. Why? Because it needs an accelerator. So, for direct method, yan, it's for measuring conjugated bilirubin. Yan, it's direct because no need for an accelerator. Yan. Okay, yan. So, we have two types of diazoreaction. Yan. So, we have Evelyn Malloy reaction and JENDRASSIK GROF. Yan. I think in your module, the test is modified JENDRASSIK GROF. Yan. So, accelerator for Evelyn Malloy, methanol naman dito. For JENDRASSIK, we have caffeine benzoate. Instead of blue or purple azobilirubin, red-purple naman kay Evelyn, kay JENDRASSIK blue. The wavelength to measure the product is 560 kay Evelyn, 600 kay JENDRASSIK. And class, kay Evelyn Malloy, you need to maintain the pH at 1.2. Kailangan acidic yung reaction para mangyari. And for JENDRASSIK class, ascorbic acid is needed to destroy if there are excess diazoreagent. Yan. So we have two So Evelyn, Malloy, and JENDRASSIK, GROF. So typically JENDRASSIK GROF is more commonly used in the laboratory because it has more advantage. Like, yan, not affected by pH change. Kasi kay Evelyn, di ba dapat 1.2? Insensitive to a 50-fold variation in protein concentration. Yan. So it's not affected by your protein, unlike your Evelyn, Malloy. Maintains optical sensitivity even at low bilirubin concentration. Has minimal turbidity and a relatively constant serum blank. Yan. Minimal turbidity. Yan. And not affected by hemoglobin up to 750 milligrams per dl. Okay. So aside from JENDRASSIK GROF, from Vandenberg reaction, meron din tayong other tests like spectrophotometric in bilirunometers. Yan. So the absorbance is 437 nanometer. We have your enzymatic. So anong ginagamit na enzyme map? Bilirubin oxidase. Yan. Convert bilirubin to biliverdin at 425, 460 nanometer. So ang product dito naman is biliverdin measured at 425 to 460 nanometers. And we have HPLC, high performance liquid chromatography. If you will encounter Micronex machine, yan, the principle to measure your bilirubin analytes is your HPLC. Yan, so class, UROBILINOGEN is also measured. However, it's more commonly measured in your urine. Yan. So sobrang dali lang. So get a freshly collected urine, place it in a test tube, tapos dip the stick. Yan. So itong UROBILINOGEN, pangatlong square. Yan. So it ranges from yellow to red color. So pag mas maraming red color, mas maraming levels of urobilinogen. Yun. Sa urine. So tinitest ang urobilinogen sa urine class. Yan, colorless end product of bilirubin catabolism that is oxidized by the gut bacteria. Gut ng gut. So, GUT, bacteria ang ibig sabihin. Pag GIT, gastrointestinal tract bacteria, to urobilin. Yan. So, class, you could look at the urobilin and bilirubin levels. Ito, dito sa second to the last, may bilirubin test. Tapos, specimen uses urine. Class, the principle of, class, bawat square dito sa urine dipstick is my principle. Yan. So, kung naalala nyo sa protein, ang principle niya sa urine dipstick is protein error of indicators. Yan, protein error of indicators. Yan, ito sa urobilinogen class, the principle is modified Ehrlich's aldehyde reaction. Yan, because we use a Ehrlich's reagent which is para-dimethylaminobenzylaldehyde. Yan. So to assess the urobilin levels, tinetest natin siya with Ehrlich's reagent. And class, the more urobilin there is, the redder the square is. Yan. It's increased in cases of hemolytic anemia. So when we say hemolytic anemia, guys, there is excess breakdown of your red blood cells. Ang raming cause ng breakdown of red blood cell, pwedeng antibodies, pwedeng genetic disease. Ayan. Sources of errors. Yan. So, standardization of instruments. So, dapat lagi sila-check, kinakalibrate. Class, your bilirubin will decrease in cases of hemolysis. So, sabi nga ng teacher ko, hemolysis is a cardinal sin. And lipemia, class, will increase your bilirubin levels kasi nga it's spectrophotometrically measured. Yan, class, your bilirubin is photosensitive. Yan. So, 1 hour or more will decrease the bilirubin to up to 50%. Yan. So, class, when we are collecting bilirubin, yan, the tube is covered with carbon paper. Huwag kakalimutan yun, ha? So, when we are collecting bilirubin, the tube should be covered with carbon paper. Carbon paper, class, is black. Yan. So, or your specimen should be hidden away from sunlight or artificial light. Yan. So, kino-cover ng papel po, which is carbon paper, ang tube na itetest for bilirubin. Kahit may kasabay pa siyang glucose testing, lipid testing, i-cover mo pa rin ng carbon paper. And specimen and standard should be refrigerated in the dark because these are all light sensitive. Ito na, clinical significance. So class, so when we talk about jaundice, yan, jaundice, the yellow coloration of your skin, your sclera, your mucous membranes and all, class, jaundice always points out, or it is classified based on the site of disorder. Yan. So, jaundice is a problem of related to bilirubin, yan, and the liver. So we have 3 classifications of jaundice. We have pre-hepatic jaundice, hepatic jaundice, and post-hepatic jaundice. So when we say pre-hepatic jaundice, there's nothing wrong with the liver. However, there's something wrong with things that happens before it goes to the liver. Yan. Example is excess red blood cell breakdown. So, example, in hemolytic anemia class, maraming nagbe-breakdown na red blood cell. So, ibig sabihin, pag maraming nagbe-breakdown na red blood cell, marami ring heme. Yan. At kung maraming heme class, mataas ang unconjugated bilirubin. That's an example of pre-hepatic jaundice. However, when we go to hepatic jaundice, so there's a problem on the liver. Means on the liver. Example, there could be something wrong with the UDP glucuronyl transferase, with the enzyme for conjugation, ganyan. And we also have post-hepatic jaundice. So there's nothing wrong with the liver. However, there's something wrong with the passages that that obstruct the flow of your bilirubin, something like that. hindi pa pinapa-excrete yung bilirubin. Yan. So, kung naalala nyo, parang pre-renal azotemia, renal azotemia, and post-renal azotemia. Your post-renal azotemia is caused by the obstruction in the urinary tract. So, tumataas ang NPN kasi hindi makalabas yung mga NPN kasi may bara. Like kidney stones, ganun rin sa post-hepatic. Pwedeng may bara. Yan. So, parang sa renal azotemia, there's something wrong with the kidney. Dito sa hepatic jaundice, may something wrong sa liver. Pag pre-hepatic, so there's nothing wrong with the liver. Same thing with pre-renal azotemia. There's nothing wrong with the kidney. However, there's something wrong with the plasma. Yan. Before it goes to the kidney. Example, dehydration, hemorrhage rin, bleeding. So, yan, class, let's start with your pre-hepatic. So, expect that in pre-hepatic, expect that it's an unconjugated hyperbilirubinemia, meaning mataas ang B1 or unconjugated bilirubin. So, example is hemolytic anemia. Yan, mataas ang heme. Kung mataas ang heme, mataas ang unconjugated bilirubin. What else? We have Gilbert syndrome. Defective conjugation enzyme system. Ibig sabihin, class, it's a bilirubin transport deficit. So, tumataas ang unconjugated bilirubin kasi hindi siya matransport ng maayos. Yan. Yan. There's something wrong with the conjugation. Yan. Ngayon, pre-hepatic pala yung class. So, class yan, Lucey-Driscoll syndrome, present of circulating inhibitor to bilirubin, presence of circulating inhibitor to bilirubin conjugation. So, for Lucey-Driscoll class, it's circulating inhibitor. So, it inhibits the process of conjugation. So, imbis na mako-convert na itong unconjugated to conjugated, there's an inhibitor present. And we have, yan, Krigler-Najjar. Yan. So there is something wrong with the conjugation process. There's complete deficiency. There's deficiency of UDP-GT enzyme. So we have total pag type 1 and type 2 partial deficiency of your enzyme. So class, sa mga kondisyon na to, Yan. There is increase in B1. Jaundice occurs prior to liver metabolism. Okay, next class, hepatic jaundice. So hepatic jaundice, there's something wrong with your liver. It cannot process thoroughly. So there's inflammation in your liver. Hindi niya ma-process maayos. So what the impact of this is it increases both of your conjugated and unconjugated bilirubin. Yan. Drug-induced hepatitis, acetaminophen, or yung paracetamol na class, huwag kang inom ng paracetamol kung hindi mahalaga. Because yun, it could result to drug-induced hepatitis, autoimmune, antibodies are attacking your liver, alcoholic hepatitis class, excess alcohol, and say, and so on. May viral cause. So, Hepa A, Hepa B, Hepa C, Hepa D, Hepa E. If I'm not mistaken, may F at saka G. And ito, there's something wrong with the defect in hepatic excretion naman to. Hindi ma-release sa bile yung conjugated bilirubin in Rotor syndrome. We have Dubin-Johnson. There's something wrong with the excretion as well. Defective removal of conjugated and excretion into bile. So parang almost the same sila. However, one of the key characteristic of Dubin-Johnson is the presence of the delta bilirubin. So class, conjugated bilirubin shouldn't be attached to albumin. However, since masyado nang na-stuck, di talaga masikrit yung conjugated bilirubin, nag-attach na siya sa albumin, forming a delta bilirubin. Due to prolonged elevated conjugated bilirubin, since there's failure to excrete it, yan, nag-bind na tuloy yung unconjugated sa albumin, forming delta bilirubin. Plus, we have post-hepatic jaundice. So, there's a blockage, there's a obstruction in your hepatic bile duct, common bile duct, as in if there are gallstones or tumors. Parang sa post-renal azotemia. So, yan, we have Crigler-Najjar, yung total and partial deficiency of your DPG, UDPGT, yan, unconjugated bilirubin increase daw. So, total bilirubin, guys, is conjugated plus unconjugated bilirubin is your total bilirubin. Post-hepatic, increase lahat. Pre-hepatic, increase talaga ang conjugated bilirubin. Class, in every methodology that we will do, kailangan laging may sample blank. Yan. Eliminates the background spectral interferences found in your sample. Especially class na example, pag may jaundice yung pasyente class, yung plasma pwede rin maging yellow. Kaya to remove the interferences caused by this pigment, mag-run tayo ng ng serum blank. Yan, ng serum blank. Pag may color sa serum. However, itong sample blank, it is used to set the transmission at 0. So, itong sample blank class, para to sa makina natin, sa spectrophotometer natin, to remove the spectral interferences, yung mga, to set the transmission to 0. So, class, the reference value for your bilirubin, class, mas marami ang unconjugated. So, 0.2 to 0.8 kesa unconjugated, 0 to 0.2. Yan. So, pag pina-add mo to, equals total bilirubin. So, guys, just to share to you yung nangyayari, yung reality sa laboratory. So, the test that we have usually measures total bilirubin and conjugated bilirubin. The measures we have total bilirubin test and conjugated bilirubin. Yan. So, ayun. So, some laboratories offer both B1 and B2 tests. Ayan. So, yun, depende class sa laboratory. So, better sana meron silang tatlong test for this. Yan, may test for B1, may test for B2, and may test for total bilirubin. Yan, sometimes total bilirubin and direct lang available. Minsan naman, conjugated and unconjugated ang available. So guys, thank you for listening. So this is the last discussion on CC1. I'll see you in CC2. Bye-bye.